My name is Dave Clark. My son-in-law calls me Microdac, and of course I coined the phrase Microdacism, which means to think for yourself. It is so much more fun to talk with someone who thinks for himself or thinks for herself. And here in the 21st century, I don't know why it is, but an awful lot of people are afraid to do precisely that. They are afraid to express themselves and their thoughts. Luckily for me, there is Melanie.
This process that I'm going through with my dear friend Dave, who is encouraging me 100%, and I am resistance. I do not see necessarily the good's going to come from this. I don't see how this is going to impress anybody else. It's just someone's opinion of what life is, and it's my opinion, and I am sharing it with others that may have some questions and doubts, and maybe that is the purpose behind it. So at times I am resistant, but I'm ready to talk about a statement, and I'm going to read it to you. We are fully human and we're fully divine. Okay, let's just look at that. The first thing is when an idea comes across, no matter how it comes across to you, and you have a resistance to it, or you have an agreement with it, what is the difference? What is the difference? We do need to be open-minded. We need to be flexible. We need to have not just our mind working, but also our heart. And that's something that took me a long time to understand, was the heart part. Because I think of my mind as a brain, and I think of my heart as an organ. But I'm talking about much more than that. Our mind being not just our intellect, but how we process ideas. What do we accept? What do we reject? How does the ego play in this? How does whatever play into it? So it's just a lot of things that you think about. So I'm getting off the subject, so let me continue. Okay, let's go with we are fully human. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, our ego shows us our human side. We're consumed with the way we look. We're consumed about our clothes, our jewelry, our clothes, our homes, our jobs. These are all things that we do usually to impress others more than we do it to impress ourselves. Our five senses are always kicking in. You're seeing everything. You're smelling, you're hearing, you're tasting. These things are overwhelming. They're with you all the time. You cannot escape them. So it's real easy to figure out the human part about us. We have to, think of maybe our behaviors and our words. That's what makes us different humans from each other. But still, it's part of accepting the human part of it. And then the history. You know what history we've had, your age, what have you been exposed to, what did your parents teach you, your next door neighbor, your best friend, your enemy. I mean, this is all an accumulation of what goes into being human. All right? So, let's take the second part of that sentence. Now remember I said we are fully human and we are fully divine. We're not one or the other. So we got the human part down. So let's explore the divine. The divine is much more harder to explain, mainly because of one reason. We've never encouraged it. We embrace the human part of us, but we don't embrace that there is a spiritual or divine self to us. That is more alien to us. We can't prove it like we can prove the humanness. We can't prove it in the same way, so we don't embrace it as a possibility. But for the sake of argument, let's say the statement I said is true, because that's how you do something fairly. You take the idea or the statement and you unfold it and you find, yes, I agree with this, no, I don't. What are some examples that it is true? What are some examples that it isn't true? So In the divine, it's going to be, instead of the ego, it is going to be a mind and heart connection. When the mind and heart agree, that is a divine or spiritual inspiration or belief or action. We have to be honest to ourselves. We have to be open. I mean, it's very easy. Oh, well, I don't believe in that. Okay. When you are open-minded and you're searching for answers, you need to open up your mind to accept for the moment that this could be true. And then you find ways that it is true. For instance, let's just take a topic. Let's talk about our creation. And the Bible, as a reference, it shows the divine creation, which is what I believe. But then there's another belief system out there that we are creatures of evolution, and that it's all animal-based. I'll say animal-based to include all of us. So let's just take that for a moment. If we are monkeys that have evolved to humans, as an example, the definition of evolution means that we are continuing to evolve. So what are we evolving into? Because if we're monkeys and humans, where are we going next? So that stops me right there. I don't see that happening. So therefore, that point of view doesn't make sense to me. Now, the divine creation. Well, you got to do a little homework on that too. You can't just accept it because someone said it. Do some research. Read some books. Go to some lectures. Talk to some individuals that believe this way. Develop a mindset. If it makes sense to you, then it's right for you. It may not be right for you or all these people behind me, but when something makes common sense to you, then that is your truth. Now, I'm not saying that will never change, but it's saying where you have put your work into what makes sense to you. You're doing your homework. So that's an example of where the human side or the divine side. All right, so let's continue a little bit more on the divine. I personally believe that we are divine creatures having a human experience. We are not humans having a spiritual experience. It's the other way around. So what I'm saying, that I believe our core, the center of who we are, is divine. We're not sinners. We're not captured in the humanness, that we are limited, because there's always someone smarter than me. There's always someone richer than me. There's always someone better looking than me. Someone skinnier than me. And we can just go on and on and on with that. There's always somebodies that have more than what we have. So there's a limit when you're a human. And of course, when you get older, now you lose your youth, but now maybe you've gained some money. So that, there's exchanges. But as a divine creature, you're always divine. Now, have you unlocked the divinity in you? Well, that's a big question. Are you embracing it? Well, let's just look about the shareness. How much time do we put in being a human? How much time do we put in being divine and spiritual? Not even close. 10% is probably what most of us do. Now, so how can we deny the divine part if we don't stimulate it? If we don't start practicing some of the I don't even have the right words. Start changing our mindset. Opening up, embracing the possibility that you are divine and I am divine. That I'm convinced. Nobody can convince me anything any different. I've given it a lot of thought. I started in the 80s doing kind of an inward look. Not an outward look, but more of an inward. What were my gifts and talents that are inside me? Because I have talents and gifts that other people don't have, and they have talents and gifts that I don't have. And isn't it nice if we were all the same? What a boring world that'd be. So, I am grateful that someone works in an emergency room, because I can't. I'd be on the floor. They'd be getting me all conscious. I'd be out. I can't do that. But I can do other things that maybe other people can't do. So it's a wonderful mix, but I'm challenging you to give divine presence a chance. Do some homework. Now, I don't mean necessarily opening the Bible. That may not be your way of getting information. But what sounds good to you? Because if it doesn't sound good to you, you're not going to accept it. So do what seems right to you. Take a class. Go to a church. Go to some lectures. Read some books. Talk with people. There, TV programs, podcasts. There's a gazillion ways to get information. And what sounds reasonable to you, and start with that. So that's my little thing on fully divine and fully human. And I think that we are both. We are definitely in a human environment and in a human body. There's no doubt about that. But I believe we're not limited to that. That we have a gift, or we have a presence inside that you can't see. It's got to be nurtured, just like anything that you desire. If you want to be the best surfer in the world, you're not just going to read about it and practice and see how it's done. You're going to go out there and practice it. You're going to get knocked off your board. You're going to, go the wrong way, a variety of things, but you're going to get back up and you're going to do it again. So when you're thinking about, well, I don't think I have any divinity, how much homework have you done? How much time have you spent? Fair amount, an honest amount. And after you do that research, then ask yourself the same question. So, and the whole point of me saying any of these things is to plant a seed.
She's incredible, isn't she? And there you have it. You're welcome to respond to Melanie, of course. And you can do that by writing to me, Melanie, in care of Dave Clark, in your email addresses. Thank you so very much. And yes, I'm going to ask Melanie to expand a little bit on what she talked about, and I would love for her to be a constant guest, because she's somebody who is not afraid to think for herself.